be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it on our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your Big Book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. And in accordance with our group conscience on October 16th of 2023, we will also be posting our podcast on YouTube. We feel this is an effective way to carry our message to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. And our study tonight will begin on page 17 and will end on page 19. Do we have any announcements?
None tonight.
Okie dokie.
Oh, yeah. Moving on. Good evening, family. My name is Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. And welcome to the Lewisburg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of monk meditation, followed by our family's fog light prayer.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you're unmuted and sharing, is to not distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And just a friendly reminder that absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God and let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And on that note, let's bring the monks in and enjoy your time with God. For those of you who wish to join us in our family's Foglight Prayer, it'll be on your screen in front of you. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report.
And thank you, Jamie, for remembering. All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Molly, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I have asked Kenny to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Kenny.
You're muted, Kenny.
Try to make it bigger.
There, I can blow it up a bit.
I got it. Well, that's good. Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered but not cured, that presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. That allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime. But we have been restored to sanity. And that was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than his body. Page 23. We are now saying where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered. Thank you.
And thank you, Kenny. All right, let's get back to all right. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Dribble Fellowship League, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously. Because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements to sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the foreword to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder, those who stayed on with AA, showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time?
We've got
Welcome, Kathy.
Welcome Jimbo. Welcome Brittany. Welcome Betty.
All kinds of new faces and names. Wonderful. Thank you for being here. Can we have a show of hands of people? Oh, and then the recovered alcoholics, please. These are your potential sponsors. Is anyone celebrating a milestone this week?
It's not this week, but since she hasn't been here in a while and she's in with us tonight, Vicky celebrated 2.5 years last month. So congratulations, Vicky.
Thank you. Good job, girl.
Glad to have you home, Vicky.
Good to be here. Thank you. If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by buzzard mail. Delivery time, questionable, especially at this time of year. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in the chat. Thank you, and see you next week.
Thank you, Molly. Well done. From Chapter 2, from There is a Solution, the tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 3. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 4. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Hi, I'm Nicole, and I am your traditionalist for tonight. So today we are doing Tradition 4. And the short form is each group should be autonomous except for matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. And with respect to its own affairs, the long version, with respect to its own affairs, each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups, also those groups ought to be consulted. And no group, regional committee, or individual as a whole without conferring with the trustees of the General Service Board. On such issues, our common welfare is paramount. So, I get nervous. I have little notes here. Okay. So Tradition 4 gives each group the freedom to run the meeting how and they would like to, and to choose their own format as long as it protects AA as a whole. Okay, so it could be like a daily reflections meeting, a big book study meeting, 11th step meeting. So our group, chooses what our format is, but we cannot go into another group and choose their format. Okay, and it also makes us mindful of neighboring groups. So if I was to go and start a big book meeting on Monday at 7 p.m. If there was already one at that time down the street, right, it would conflict with that, and it wouldn't be respectful for that. So we have to respect that for that meeting. And so, yes, in this group, we call ourselves the Pickles, right? And no one can tell us that we can't, and we cannot go into another group and tell them what, they should do or should not do. So basically, it's here to protect AA in the primary purpose to stay sober, but we have the choice to do whatever we want in our group as long as we are protecting sobriety and the primary purpose of this function. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Nicole. See, your maiden voyage, you did very well. Congratulations. Thank you for being of service tonight. Kenny and Molly, thank you for being of service as well. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. Sorry, folks, we don't often get one of those. But hey, it happens. Our apologies for that. And Alyssa, where are you? I'm going to co-host you, Alyssa, to watch, please. Because we have Alyssa, you got your hand raised? You want to say something? Okay.
No, I was just trying to help you find me.
Okay. You got a couple might need to watch out for. You got one coming in right now. Sorry about that, folks. So it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. You hear a lot of things said in meetings that can't be reconciled with the program as it's outlined in the first 164 pages of our big book. And here's one of those things you hear. There are no musts in the book. And Sassy Pickle is going to come in and tell us what it has to say on page 130 in the second paragraph. Sassy.
Hi, Sassy Pickle here. That is where our fellow travelers are, and that is where our work must be done.
Thank you so much.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book study guide prepared by Joe, Charlie, and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight, we are starting a new chapter. There is a solution, so we will not have a recap of what we read last week. We will have a blue page, which will be shared on the screen and will give us a little bit of history on that chapter. And then following that, Christy will read our study portion, and that will be pages 17 through the top of page 19.
Sorry. After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back at where Christy starts the study portion tonight. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one-sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically, in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through and then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
Shayna, I just threw power to you because we had a bomber. This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we've completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, observations based on what we just read. If you have spiritual experience with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, you will hear a timer beep to let you know that your time is finished.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of our co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And before we begin, how did we get here? This meeting started in January of 2020, so we are coming up on our 4th anniversary. And it started out as an in-person meeting, and then COVID hit, and like so many other groups, it closed down, but then it came back first as hybrid, and then as 100% Zoom. And as we're reading the book, we start out on the title page where we see our first promise, how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. And then we read through the preface, all the forwards, the doctor's opinions, Bill's story, every chapter, every line, all the way from page 1 or from page V, first Roman number, all the way through page 164. And then we also read Dr. Bob's Nightmare, and we spend 2 weeks on the traditions, and as a part of the study we incorporate the spiritual experience, Appendix 2, 3 times, but we also do that as a week by itself so we can focus just on the spiritual experience without bringing in other parts of the book as well. So in all, it's a 94-week study from beginning to end, and when we reach the end of spiritual experience that last time, we go back and start all over. So we're coming up on our 4th year of being a group, and we are just starting out really our 3rd season since we're in Chapter 2. And that's how we got here.
Thank you. And before I start with the blue page tonight, we could use about 5 hands raised to be answer readers after the study portion is read. Most of you know the drill, and if you're new, we just follow along line by line. You don't have the questions, we do, but the answers will come right out of the book line by line. So welcome, and we certainly encourage everyone to get involved. I am going to show you exactly what we read from the study guide, because you'll be looking for this in your book and you won't find it. And this way you will see exactly where we're getting the information that I'm talking about tonight. And then when we start the study portion with the questions and answers, I will also be coming in with a few comments that go along with the questions as well. Week 16, the blue page. And this blue page is always the introduction to a new chapter. As we study Chapter 2, there is a solution. We learn what the solution is to that seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. We will also learn who gave us this information and why they gave it to us. In addition, we will find the clear-cut directions we must take to be assured that we will join the first 100 as recovered alcoholics. We will learn the difference between the fellowship and the program. We will learn that although we share a common problem, that in itself will not produce the solution. We will learn that some very real truths about alcoholism. We will also learn that although an alcoholic cannot control the amount he drinks once he has taken the first few drinks because of the physical sensitivity to alcohol, that is not the real problem. The physical allergy is not what drives us to Alcoholics Anonymous for help. The real problem centers in the mind, because the real alcoholic is unable to manage his most earnest decision to never take another drink. But drinking is not the main problem of the chronic alcoholic. Alcoholics drink and do so better than almost everybody else. Stopping is not the problem. Every alcoholic has stopped many times. The real problem of the chronic alcoholism is that we cannot stay stopped. The real problem, the real alcoholic mind is the one that does not have sufficient willpower to manage the decision to stay stopped. That produces the insidious insanity that leads us to the first drink. Lacking the willpower to manage the decision to not take the first drink mandates that hopeless alcoholic to find a higher power that will remove the need to try and manage the decision to never drink again. We will also learn something about 3 types of drinkers. There are moderate drinkers who would never think about coming to Alcoholics Anonymous. They can take it or leave it alone. Then there are the hard drinkers that may need to come to Alcoholics Anonymous to learn that they are not alcoholics, giving a good reason they can drink like moderate drinkers or abstain completely if they so choose. But the real alcoholic is totally powerless over alcohol. We can neither control the amount we drink, nor do we have the power to manage the decision to not ever drink again. Alcoholics Anonymous is for the real alcoholic only. We will learn more about that when we study the 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. So, is there a solution? Let's find out. And on that note, Christy, welcome.
Hi, Christy Alcoholic. I'm reading chapter 2, There is a Solution, the first couple of pages. We of Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who were once just as hopeless as Bill. Nearly all recovered. They have solved the drink problem. We are average Americans. All sections of this country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds. We are people who normally would not mix, but there exists among us a fellowship, a friendliness and an understanding which is indescribably wonderful. We are like the passengers of a great line, pardon me, a great liner, the moment after rescue from shipwreck, when camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy pervade the vessel from steerage to captain's table. Unlike the feelings of the ship's passengers, however, our joy in escape from disaster does not subside as we go on our individual ways. The feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us. But that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism. An illness of this sort, and we have come to believe it in illness, involves those about us in a way no other human sickness can. If a person has cancer, all are sorry for him and no one is angry or hurt. But not so with the alcoholic illness, for with it there goes annihilation of all the things worthwhile in life. It engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers. It brings misunderstandings, fierce resentment, financial insecurity, disgusted friends and employers, warped lives of blameless children, sad wives and parents. Anyone can increase the list. We hope this volume will inform and comfort those who are or who may be affected. There are many. Highly competent psychiatrists who have dealt with us have found it sometimes impossible to persuade an alcoholic to discuss his situation without reserve. Strangely enough, wives, parents, and intimate friends usually find us even more unapproachable than do the psychiatrist and the doctor. But the ex-problem drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. That the man who is making the approach has had the same difficulty, that he obviously knows what he is talking about, that his whole deportment shouts at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer, that he has no attitude of holier than thou, nothing whatever except the sincere desire to be helpful, that there are no fees to pay, no axes to grind, no people to please, no lectures to be endured. These are the conditions we have found most effective. After such an approach, many take up their beds and walk again. Thanks for letting me read.
Thank you, Christy. And we have 3 hands up. So that's what we're going to go with. And our batting order tonight for the questions will be Nancy, William, and then Nicole. And for our answer readers, please go ahead and unmute. And when it's your turn, please speak clearly into your microphones. And for the whole floor, just a reminder, we will ask the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. The answers to the questions will be sentence by sentence coming directly out of this week's reading that Christy just read, beginning with that first sentence on page 17 and ending with the last one she read on page 19. So Nancy, the first question goes to you, and you can go ahead and unmute yourself. What do we know?
Yeah.
What do we know? We at Alcoholics Anonymous know thousands of men and women who are once just as hopeless as Bill.
Thank you. And William, what have they done? 2 sentences, please.
Did we lose him?
You're muted, William.
Okay, sorry about that. Most of them have recovered. Nearly all of them have recovered. They have solved their drinking problem.
Thank you. And Nicole, who are we, members of Alcoholics Anonymous? And you get 2 sentences.
We are average Americans, all sections of this country and many of its occupations are represented, as well as many political, economic, social, and religious backgrounds.
And Shayna and Alyssa have joined in the answer readers. So Shayna, without AA, would we have known each other?
We are people who normally would not mix.
Comment, without Zoom, would we have known each other?
Nope.
No.
And Alyssa, what do recovered alcoholics share?
But there exists among us a fellowship, a friendliness, and an understanding which is indesirably wonderful.
Since the writing of this book, we have added the virtual world to our fellowship as well. Are we continuing with the meetings before and after the meeting to support the fellowship of one another virtually? Also, from the foreword to the first edition, in any meeting anywhere, AAs share experience, strength, and hope with each other in order to stay sober and help other alcoholics. Modem to modem or face to face, AAs speak the language of the heart in all its power and simplicity.
And Nancy, who are we like?
We are like the passengers of a great liner the moment after rescue from shipwreck with camaraderie, joyousness, and democracy forbade vessels from steerage to captain's table.
Thank you. William, how are we unlike them?
Like the feeling of the ship passenger, however, our joy is escaped from disaster. His joy is escaped from disaster does not subside as we go our individual ways.
Thank you. And Nicole, what feeling have we shared?
The feeling of having shared in a common peril is one element in the powerful cement which binds us.
Thank you. And Shayna, will the common problem keep us together?
But that in itself would never have held us together as we are now joined.
And a comment before the comment. Welcome to those who have just joined us, and we are on page 17 currently. Welcome, glad to have you with us tonight. Now the comment. After that comment, this is where we go from fellowship to spiritual solution as outlined in the big book. For example, from fellowship to the program of recovery.
And I think we're at Shayna. What tremendous fact is it that keeps us together?
I'll read again. The
Sorry.
tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution.
And Alyssa, a 2-part question. On what can we absolutely agree, and what can we join in?
We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action.
Comment. This virtual world has allowed us to carry the message to others in ways that we never could before, sharing the spiritual solution to bring about recovery from alcoholism. This truly makes us members of the worldwide fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Thank you. And Nancy, where do we find this most important information?
This is the good news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
Thank you. William, is the effect of our illness limited to just the alcoholic?
An illness of this sort, and we have come to believe it is an illness involving those about us in a way other human beings' sickness can.
Thank you. And Nicole, what are our feelings for a cancer patient?
If a person has cancer, all are sorry for him and no one is angry or hurt.
And Shayna, what goes with alcoholic illness?
But not so with the alcoholic illness. For with it there goes annihilation of all things worthwhile in life.
Alyssa, who does it affect?
It engulfs all whose lives touch the sufferers.
Thank you. And back to Nancy, what does it bring to all those affected by alcoholism?
It brings misunderstanding, fierce resentment, financial insecurity, disgusted friends and employers, warped lives of blameless children, sad lives and parents. Anyone can increase the list.
How does this compare to the way it was with your family and everyone involved in your life?
And William, what is our hope?
We hope this volume will inform and comfort those who may be affected.
Thank you. Nicole, is this for just a few?
There are many.
Thank you. Shayna, are we willing to discuss our situation with professionals or even those who are close to us? And please read that whole paragraph.
Highly competent psychiatrists who have dealt with us have found it sometimes impossible to persuade an alcoholic to discuss his situation without reserve. Strangely enough, wives, parents, and intimate friends usually find us even more unapproachable than do the psychiatrist and the doctor.
Thank you. And Alyssa, what can the recovered alcoholic do?
But the ex-problem drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours.
Thank you. Nancy, when can some progress be made with a suffering alcoholic?
Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished.
Thank you. And William, what is it that the recovered alcoholic brings to the suffering alcoholic? And you have a long sentence.
That's the man who makes the approach has had the same difficulty, that he always knows what he is talking about, that his whole deportment shouts at the new prospect that he is a man with a real answer, that he has no attitude or no harm than nothing whatever except the sincere desire to be helpful, that there is no fees or no fee to pay, no axe to grind, no people to please, no lecture to be endured. These are the conditions we have found most effective.
Would this describe the qualifications of a sponsor?
And our last question goes to Shayna. What happens after the recovered alcoholic tells his story to the suffering alcoholic?
After such an approach, many take up their beds and walk again.
Thank you. And we will now open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that was just read, please feel free to share. And as a reminder, as we share, absence of profanity offends no one. We open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. And if you have spiritual experiences with this information, please, you are also free to share. So who's gonna jump in first? Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy Alcoholic. I really identify with the paragraph about the ex-problem drinker who's found the solution being better able to talk to me, for instance, than anyone. I was in counseling for years. I had a psychologist for years, and he kept saying to me, "You are an alcoholic." And I kept saying to him, "No, I'm just a heavy drinker. I'm not an alcoholic. I still go to work. I still pay my bills. I still do this. I still do that." It just didn't seem possible that I could be an alcoholic. But I spoke to a woman on the phone when I was trying to find meetings for AA, and she was my age. She had my story, and I thought, wow, maybe this is true. And she was able to talk to me in a way that even a trained psychologist I had known for years couldn't talk to me. And I only spoke to her for about 20 minutes, and it made a lot more impact than all of the counseling sessions did. Thanks.
Thanks, Christy. Who's next? Hi, William.
My name is William Alcoholic. I definitely identify with what we read tonight, and what stuck out at me most was the part up here just before the ex-problem drinker. The other one, when the highly competent psychiatrists who have dealt with us found it sometimes impossible to persuade an alcoholic to discuss his situation without reserve. And that was so true with me. You know, I was a Vietnam veteran. I had a job with good insurance, and I went to psychiatrists and talked to a doctor. I knew something was wrong, but I just couldn't see it. You know what I mean? And what I see about why they couldn't help me was because I couldn't stand for nobody to tell me what was. I had too much pride, too much other stuff going on inside of them for you to tell me what was going on with me, you know. And that's one thing that I got when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I still struggle with that while I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. If somebody was sharing and they were sharing in the second and third person, it sort of put up some kind of emotion going on inside of me. But whenever you was talking about yourself, I would listen to that. I heard that, and I would identify with that, and I would see how that was playing out in my life, you know. So definitely, I didn't receive no help until I got in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, having access to all the help that I could get from other people. But the only help I got when I came here, and heard somebody else sharing their problem, their solution, and how they got out of it. As soon as, even when I was drinking, if somebody would tell me, so the way you drink it, how you drink it, you're going to hurt yourself. And my disease would tell me, you're not going to get no more of what I'm drinking. You can forget about it. And I find myself drinking alone by myself. You know, so I thank God, God put me to a place here where y'all would share your experience, strength, and hope. And I began to listen. I began to say, oh, that was me. That's the way it was. And it continues to happen today. It's not over, you know. Mine is slow recovery, gradually peeling of that onion, and gradually begin to see stuff, because I had too much of pride, too much of fear, too much of all that negativity stuff going on in my life, that when you talk about me, my ears closed, and I began to see a whole lot wrong with you and nothing wrong with me. So thank you for that. Thanks everybody for making this possible tonight.
Thank you, William. Who's next? Well, I will go ahead and jump in then. I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And there is a lot in here that I could relate to. And I love how it points out in the beginning that we're average Americans, we're average people in all sections of the country, all occupations, political, economic, social, religious backgrounds. You know, alcohol knows no boundaries, and it's going to hit everybody. And we are people who normally would not mix. I have met lifelong friends in AA who, if I had not met them in AA, I would not have met them at all in the circles that I usually were in, either through social going out, work, meetings, church, wherever. I would have I would have missed out meeting on so many people who are so such a positive force and such a big part of my life right now. And especially with Zoom, none of us in this room would have known each other without Zoom. Well, I can say one person in this room I would have known without Zoom. But the fact that we've shared that common peril. We all know what it's like to be active alcoholics. We all know what it's like to be recovered alcoholics. And, we cling to that as we cling to each other and as we join together in that hope and in the common solution we have of alcoholism and sobriety. And like Christy and William both talked about, it was listening to someone share her story that planted the most seeds for me in the beginning before I got here, because she knew what she was saying. Even though I knew I wasn't ready to come in, I knew what she was saying and I could relate to what she was saying, because she wasn't talking out of a textbook and she wasn't talking somebody else's experience, but she was talking her own life. And, alcoholism is definitely an illness, and there are still people today I know who look down their noses at alcoholism, but not with people who have other illnesses. Like it mentions cancer. People are sorry for the people who have cancer, but not the alcoholics, because there are still people out there who say, "Oh, you did it to yourself." But it does affect us. It affects our families. It affects our friends. It affects everybody around us. And as I came into AA and as I got sober and started taking the steps and working the program, I could see my family changing. And as I changed, they changed. And it wasn't anything they were doing, but it was the fact that I was changing. And it still took years for me to let them in and let them know why I was changing. But the fact that I could see their changes, and even since we've started talking more openly about me being in the program, they're much more accepting of things that I say, things that I do, and none of that would have been possible. The relationship I have with my family now would not have been possible without AA. And, the support of everybody in the rooms. So while I definitely know that I suffered, so did everybody else around me. And I've also got to be caring and loving to them, and not just expect that they're going to be caring and loving for me as well, because they were just as sick and uncomfortable as I was. Steph, hi, come on in.
Hey there. Just a little bit about being an illness. I look at this from two different sides, and yes, I agree that alcoholism is an illness, and I understand the frustration and the resentment when somebody won't take their freaking medicine. It's like when you have, I can understand when people get frustrated and or say with alcoholics, they say, it's, if somebody knows what they have to do, if they know what medicine they need, if they have a disease of some sort, and the doctor says, "Here, take this medicine, and you're going to be better." And I take this medicine and I get better, but then I decide I don't want to take my medicine anymore. It's really frustrating, and it's hard to. I can see where resentment comes in, and frustration. Just take your dang medicine. That's all.
Thank you, Steph. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Jamie?
Good evening, family. My name's Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. And I got pamphlets pushed across the table to me for 17 years before I ever got to Alcoholics Anonymous. But what resonated with me the most in that part of the journey prior to coming to Alcoholics Anonymous was my favorite bartender, as I was helping her close the bar one night to try and mooch that few extra beers for helping her close up the bar, was this. She said, Jamie, you know, you're a really nice guy, but you really might consider getting into a 12-step problem. Because you just might have a problem. And that's all she said, and she left it at that. It was not long after that that I hit my bottom. It was within a few months. You know, I love there is a solution. And I love the fact that we are like passengers of the great liner the moment after the rescue from the shipwreck, when camaraderie and joyous democracy pervade from the vessel from steerage to captain's table. One of the reasons, there's a couple of reasons that this is very important. Back when the book was written, we did not have jumbo jets that flew from here to Europe and to other places. We still had basically small planes. So a few fighter jets, but we basically still had small planes. We couldn't do international travel like we do today. That international travel still was on a ship, and it took days, weeks, who knows, sometimes months maybe. Probably weeks. Certainly not with the lightning speed that cruise ships offer these days. But it goes on to say, the feeling of having shared a common peril is the one element in the powerful cement which binds us. We don't abandon one another when the meeting is over. We gather again at another meeting or another building. Sometimes, when people in our group or people we sponsor step away, we have to allow them to do that and occasionally reach out and let them know that we're still here, that we love them, and that they always have a place and a home to come to and be part of. But sometimes, if they don't want what we have to offer, we have to allow them to step away so that they can have an experience of maybe trying to do it on their own, maybe doing some more research work, whatever it is, so that they can find a bottom sufficient enough to surrender to step one. And maybe, if they're lucky enough to come back to us, then they can move on to the next part of where it transitions from fellowship into our common solution. But that in itself would never have held us together as we are joined now. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution we have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. It's talking about the 12 steps. It's talking about the first 164 pages in our book. While I can be part of the fellowship, and I might be able to witness your spiritual growth, I most certainly cannot do anything that will produce a spiritual experience in you. I can't do that. Here's what I know, is that the process of taking the steps produced a spiritual experience and a spiritual awakening in me. And if it worked for me, and if it worked for the first 100 that wrote this book, is it possible that it could work for everybody in this room? But, you know, we'll learn some more stuff as we go through the book. Like, we alcoholics are selfish and self-centered, and we alcoholics like to try and run the show. And we like to try and be the writer, the actor, the director, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But there's absolutely nothing that I can do. And page 17 tells me two of the most important things about Alcoholics Anonymous. First, that they have given us a fellowship, and that's what we are here tonight, folks. And that they have given me a spiritual solution. And that's what we're here to learn about and talk about and read about, and that's why we do the questions format the way that we do. Because it gives us a whole different perspective. When we were proofreading this time, because of COVID, we thought it was important to bring in the Zoom factor in it. There are many people who do bricks and mortar meetings that say, oh, Zoom's not real AA. Really? That is not my experience. The same message is carried, the same message with a group that has the same, carrying on with tradition 5 of the primary purpose of carrying the message, works in any group, whether it's bricks and mortar or the virtual world. Only thing I can't do is physically shake your hand or give you a hug. That's the only thing. But you know what I can do? Is I can spend hours here with you. Anytime, anywhere, any time of day, to help another alcoholic. So the idea that this is not a platform that is real just doesn't hold salt with me. You know, you get to sponsor people all over the place that we never would have had the opportunity to. And that's a blessing. Here's a consideration. Is that maybe God working in Alcoholics Anonymous? Seems to me like it might be. Thank you. I love you all. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Jamie. Xavier, come on in.
Hey, Xavier Alcoholic. Sorry. I'm on crazy baby duty. Alright, I'll be quick. I'm watching both clips. Quickly, I had a really weird, what I would consider a spiritual experience yesterday. It was very cool. Felt like there was something like on my whole body and I could barely move for like 3-4 minutes. And I haven't had something like that in a long time. It's happened twice before in my life. My whole point is this. I'm grateful that what brings us together is our solution, and we get to do these actions, and it's kind of a regimented it's very traditional. We do meetings, we say the same things, we do these actions on a daily basis if we choose to, and as a result, we get to have like what I would consider the much more important spiritual experience, which is the slow kind as we apply our life to these steps and we connect to our higher power. And what I've found is not only that I get to stay sober on a daily basis, but it's given me a life that I can barely imagine, and it makes me teachable so that I can pursue other teachings and I can grow my spirituality. And honestly, what I'm finding is the message tends to be the same for the most part, like the very similar same concepts that you learn in AA wherever I go. So I feel like at the moment I have so much gratitude. I'm on this crazy spiritual journey. It's a lot of fun. But AA has given me a foundation to be teachable, to be sober, to teach me that through actions and through connection with a higher power, I can get a life that I only imagine existed. And I have so much gratitude on a daily basis when I look at my family, when I look at everything that I'm given on a daily basis only because of this program. So I think AA, what brings me together with you guys is that we have a common solution, we have a common problem, and we come here and talk about that solution, and I'm so grateful for that. And then I can share my experiences, I hear your experiences, and that's awesome, because that's my connection to you guys, and that's so important for my recovery. I'll finish with I'm very, very happy. I have so much gratitude for Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love hearing everyone's shares, and without this program, I'm either dead or I'm back in the Psych Lord. And with it, it gives me the springboard to grow infinity and to have a life that I could only imagine existed. And this is just the beginning. I'm a firm believer that's going to get better every day. So even when things are going bad, I'm grateful. So that's all I got. I'll pass.
Thank you. Did you miss
my apologies. One more thing, if I may. Here's Christine ready to share on the beginning of chapter 2.
I was just going to ask.
Just walked in.
Are you getting it? That's funny. I actually don't know what to say about that. Oh, sorry, I have an angry baby. I'm going to have to pass. I just got home, but thank you so much.
Good to see you.
All.
All right, thank you.
Jimbo, come on in.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jim. I'm an alcoholic. I get it first. I love the question format. And I'm gonna be honest. I'm a slow learner. I know the answers are coming out of the book. I'm going, where are they getting these? I know. I'm trying to find. So I realized it was, read along, systematic, it's page by page until I said, oh, wait a minute, they're just rereading it. But it is. It was great. It's good because it's just it makes you think about it again. Really think about it. And I'm not. I mean, I don't think I've heard that before. That question format, but it was very good. So just a few things that was popping out to me. The ones where it says, "Now, of course, you can't find the stuff, right?" Where so we were. I don't want to say that's a passengers. People who normally would not mix. I was gonna say something like that. So just being in AA and yes, like I'm in meetings and like I know some people that had trouble with the law, and they're sitting right next to a law enforcement agency. Things. Someone who's in a law enforcement agency or something like that. It's when I first was reading, people were not mixed. I'm like, what are they talking about? And then when you start looking around the room, it's like, geez, it is true. It is true. And the other thing too is like you said, one of the previous speakers was saying how, you wouldn't be talking to people in, Tennessee, California, and here we are. And some of these people, there's people in this meeting, I've only known them a year or two, and I've had conversations with him where I would not have conversations with my friends of over 40 something years. Yeah, and it's just it's amazing how it's just the people that I come across in AA, they're true. I don't know how to say, humble people, and I love it a lot. And the other thing I want to go on to is talking about how it's disease. And one of the jokes which one of my friends, this is before I was even in AA, he said, that's bull, it's not a disease. He said, I never knew anyone that would go into a bar and say, oh, give me a shot of cancer. And I don't want to say maybe I did agree with him at the time, closed-minded and stuff like that, but the more I'm in this, it is a disease. I mean, it's just a disease, because even me, if I'm not in the AA, and sometimes I do, I don't want to say I never go away from it, but I'm not as involved as I should be, I can start feeling that feeling of just, I don't know, resentment. I hate everyone, and just, this person's a jerk. Oh, this person's, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want to go down that road. So I'm trying to think, and there's one other thing I want to comment on, and of course I can't because I forget. But maybe that is, that the longer I'm in here, and when I say here, like the AA, the book, and even just the meetings, the more I really realize I really, really need this. I've only been in coming around, say, 8 years now, and it's just still, and you do hear this when I first came in, the further you're away from the drink, the closer you are to the next one. And I'm not saying I'm, taking a pickup, but there are a few things happening at the last couple of weeks with me. And I wasn't itching to pick up, but I was saying, I could see myself pick up over this if I didn't have this fellowship. That makes sense. I have people I can call. I have, resources I can go to. And, I'm just thankful for that. I'm really thankful for that. But again, I really enjoyed the question format. I enjoyed this. Enjoyed the Zoom. Oh, one other thing I wanted, someone else had mentioned how, Zoom's really not a real meeting and stuff. And I hear that a lot also. And I was at a meeting once, and they're talking about, and I don't know, maybe someone can comment on this, or just maybe later on, where there's a story about, way back when they started writing this book, there was a town, I think, out in Canada, and somewhere in Canada, and they got sober through sending letters back and forth, I think, maybe to, I don't know, where is it, Ohio or something? I don't know, has anyone ever heard that story? I would love to hear it again, if someone could, talk about it, or just, not now, but put in the chat later on. And but so every time I hear, Zoom's not a real meeting, and this, I just always think of that story, and that's all I have for tonight. Thank you very much, though, again.
Thank you, Jim. Good to have you here with us tonight.
I want to come in on that real quick because it's relevant to what we're talking about tonight. It's relevant to program and the solution in the book. So when when the program first started and the book was mailed out to Minnesota, Los Angeles, Texas, Canada, so much of the work was done by letter correspondence. So much of the sponsorship was done by letter correspondence. Telephones, if people even had them in their homes, were very expensive. Generally it was party lines, or you had to find a payphone. There are stories in the book where people would drive from Chicago to Akron to meet with their sponsors and do their steps and so on. So in the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous, much of the work was done. So let's put it in terms of our real world today. I'm going crazy. I gotta talk to my sponsor. I need the answer right now. Oh, back then they had to write a letter. It might take a week and a half, the way the mail system moved back then, to make it all the way across the country. The sponsor's got to open the letter, read it, write back, and then send it back. You might not get the answer back for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, or something like that. Oh, so what do we depend on? We depend on the solution, and we find the God of our understanding, which is what this book is designed to do, is to lead us to that power greater than ourselves that we become dependent on. And that's why the first 100 and the first several thousand were so successful. They didn't have the kind of fellowship that we have today. They had it in small groups, but not like we do today. So I hope that answers your question. And yes, there's one of the stories in Historically where the guy was a salesman from Canada.
Thanks.
Always a crowd killer.
Thanks, Jamie. Who's next? And I can start calling on people if I don't see hands coming up, because I know everybody's name.
That's right. And this is an hour and a half meeting, folks. So at least the front half, because we got a back half of this meeting too.
Molly, would you like to come in?
Hi everybody, Molly, alcoholic, recovered alcoholic. I'm just glad to be here. I really don't have anything to say on tonight's reading, but I'm really glad to be here.
I'm glad
Thanks
you're
for
here.
calling on me, Trish.
You're welcome. I'm glad you're here too. How about Alyssa? Are you available to come in? Might be dealing with kids.
I take it back.
Okay.
I did want to comment on the comment that was made about Zoom not being a real venue or a real meeting. And I gotta say that while I do miss being able to hug each of you, when I walk into the room, that's really the only difference for me. I feel so privileged to know some of the people that are here that, as I think Trish said earlier, I would never have known if it weren't for Zoom. But I also, I was introduced to this big book study on Zoom. And I can do more service more easily on Zoom. And I don't have to have a car to get to Zoom. And I can make it home at the end of a long day and not think to myself, oh my God, I have to get in the car and go, or I have to walk to, or whatever. I can sit my butt down in a chair and listen. I would say that once the Zoom thing started with COVID, it saved me through COVID. You know, it kept me in the program. It kept me with people, which helped keep me from drinking or from, doing something stupid. So, yeah, I just wanted to back up that I think that Zoom has been a great success and a real helpmate to our program. Thanks. Love you all.
Thanks, Molly.
I do have a comment to add to that as well.
Sure.
Folks, and it ties in with our reading too, in the book and the solution. For 26 years, I'm on the road. The only time I can get to meetings is maybe one on the road every now and then. And then when I get home, and sometimes I'm on the road 3 and 4 months at a time. I'm not anymore, but 3 and 4 months at a time. That's a long time to go in between meetings. And then I only can catch a couple of meetings when I'm at home. So COVID hits, we have this virtual platform. Today, I average about 25 to 32 meetings a week. And it has allowed me to be of more service in Alcoholics Anonymous than anywhere else. And this particular group operates and functions just like a bricks and mortar group does in every aspect, including at all the service levels beyond the group. So, what a magnificent platform we have. And that's why we brought in that comment from the forward to the 4th edition, whether modem to modem or face to face. AAs always speak the language of the heart. Hopefully that's what we bring. I'll shut up, thanks.
Xavier, or is it Christine coming in now?
It's still Xavier. Sorry to be point. It's a really fun subject. I think Zoom's fun to chime in. I'm in Minnesota. I'm surrounded by a ton of AA meetings. There's the land of 10,000 treatment centers. It's like big business here. But with that said, I really have struggled to find meetings that I've enjoyed. So what Zoom has allowed since COVID is it's allowed me to touch base and connect with meetings in other parts of the country, other parts of the world. And I'm very selective with a very little amount of free time I have and where I spend it, who I spend it with, because I have very, very little free time. And my program is so important, so I specifically choose this meeting for a variety of reasons. But what Zoom's done is it's allowed me to have that reach and then be that selective and intelligent with the limited amount of time I have by finding certain meetings. And then, of course, in the off chance that I do get some free time otherwise, the fact that I can hop online and go to a meeting, or the rare situation where we get a babysitter and my wife and I will go on a date and actually go to an in-person meeting, it's nice to have that variety. So if I hear things like Zoom isn't a real meeting, I think that's, we all create our reality. If somebody chooses to say that, that's their way of thinking and that's their reality that they've chosen. But it goes back to what's the definition of a meeting and why do they say that? And if they benefit and that's their opinion, I totally respect that. I don't have to agree. I don't agree with most people's opinions. But it doesn't mean they're wrong and I'm right, or I'm right and they're wrong. That's just their reality and I have my reality. So I'm grateful for Zoom. I'm grateful I can connect to you guys. I'm just so grateful. In a really weird way, I'm very grateful for COVID. Super grateful, because it totally changed the world, and I think it made the world a much better place that we can all connect electronically. So, just want to put that in there. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Xavier. William, hi.
Yes, my name is William Alcoholic. So when it comes to like that, if my mind go back when this book was first put together, and they did a magnificent job for this book. And a vision for you, Bill, say something like this: though you may be one person with this book in your hand, you could stay sober, but look for somebody else to help them. You know, and the reason why you could stay sober, they put the stories of some of the people in the back for you to read by identification. They did a good public relationship, and today we got all kind of technology, but that still holds true today. What they did back in 1939, you could still say so just with the book. Now, as I stay here, and I begin to see people, old timer now, who's in nursing home. I know one old timer. He paralyzed. He can't even get. They got to lift him up with something, but he always on Zoom. And his head. And you know what? So amazing to me about that. He had accept his reality in that nursing home because of he do Zoom meetings. He still stay in contact with us, and he ain't talk about his problem. He talk about service, what he heard in the meeting, and helping a newcomer and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So Zoom made all that possible. Whatever. I got some people who won't even do service on Zoom. But that's not a controversy for me. If that's what you want to do, I'm okay with that because I'm sober. You know what I mean? I'm so happy to reach out and do service in whatever way I can, you know. And I remember a story about the military that when they had the war going on in the big book, and people stayed sober. They stayed sober. So definitely, whatever it is we have to do, we stay sober because COVID was out there. And Zoom came. We stayed sober, you know. So I don't knock it. I just come in and do whatever I can do, you know what I mean? And thank God that we have other ways for other people. I don't just only think about myself. I think about those people in the nursing home. I think about my spouse who walking down with a walker, who can't get around the way they still, but they own Zoom, making me, and still got some, they still at peace with their reality, you know. So those are my heroes, man. Those are people I look up to whenever I see stuff happening in life, you know what I mean? So God always provide, you know. All I have to do is just show up. But definitely, when they wrote this book, if you look there, you can stay somewhere by yourself, but look for somebody else to pass it on. And that's the way it was in the beginning. They were passing this book out to the employee, to the wives, to everybody to let them understand the alcoholic. You know, it is a disease. Thank you.
Thank you, William. Shayna, are you able to come in?
I can certainly give it a try. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The earphones are working for a minute. I was just sitting here thinking, I don't know how much you want me to do at this meeting, but I know that I need you. And I can't imagine how I would meet you all without AA. I very, very rarely have a moment of free time, and by that time, it's, you know, after 9 o'clock. And, you know, I got sober right at the brink of COVID in 2020. And there was a while there that I did some in person, but there would be times that there was no way for me to be anywhere. I thank God for Zoom. And being in the room, when I say room, it could be a virtual room or a bricks and mortar room, you know, I was able to learn what my problem is, not because I just miraculously figured it out, but because life got painful enough, and I suppose what was offered was very good help and listen. And obviously you don't have the answer, so you might want to listen to those that do. And that's you guys, and that's my sponsor, and my big book. And now, you know, I have a relationship with God one that I never had throughout my entire life. Feel crazy. I'll get out some days. But sure. I remember like what stuck out to me in this reading tonight was working with a professional. I've been to so many therapists, so many doctors, but I was so full of crap. I never let anybody see the real, honest me. I let people see what I wanted them to see on the outside. I never let anybody see the internal. I never let my family, like most of you all in here, know who I am without even having to explain it. I guess that's what they called it, the ladies at the heart. The heart. You understand the pain, the emotion, the struggles, I forget where I was even going with that, but, getting, having listened to a speaker or having listened to shares, they told my story. The story that I thought that only I had. And when I don't know if you could hear the little person here, but anyhow, I'm grateful for you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana.
Give that little person a hug from Papa.
Me too. Art, would you like to come in and wrap us up?
Hi everybody, my name is Art. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic. And just thinking about what we read tonight, and the title of this chapter is intriguing. There is a solution. And for so many years I was out there trying to find a solution to my issues and problems and unable to do so. Because I was looking in the wrong places. And I knew nothing of Alcoholics Anonymous. And when I was introduced to it, rejected it without really investigating what you had to offer. And when you talk about a solution, the first step in finding a solution to any problem is to recognize that the problem exists. And that's what was missing. I didn't recognize or was in complete denial of the fact of my alcoholism. But I'm not like you. So I wasn't really looking for the solution to my alcoholism. I was looking for a solution to my life. And it turns out they're running the same, but I didn't know it at that point. And so I resisted. As a result, I continued to drink for several more years after I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous, because I thought that wasn't for me. And finally, after a series of unfortunate circumstances due to my poor decision making, I was at a point of desperation. And I began to search for a solution other than the one I had been trying to utilize unsuccessfully. And so this chapter, there is a solution. It was helpful in convincing me that I had a problem that I didn't think I had. And along with some of the other earlier chapters, the one that comes after this, the more about alcoholism, was also very useful in breaking down the prejudice and I guess just plain stubbornness that had kept me in drinking for so long and brought me to that position of desperation where I finally became willing to take a look at something different. As a result, I found a way of life that was always there, always available, but that I had rejected and thought I was going to find a better way, and there isn't it. And one of the things that we read about tonight was the idea that a recovered alcoholic can have a more profound influence on an untreated alcoholic than almost anybody else. Where psychiatry failed and where medical practice failed, where religion failed, where all of these different avenues of how to live failed. And I met a guy through another set of circumstances beyond my control that I didn't know anything about, but I saw what he was doing. And I asked him how he did it. And he became my sponsor and became my teacher. This man never told me what I had to do. He just showed me how to live. I had questions and he had answers. And it was easy for me to see that the way he answered my questions was the way he lived. And that was appealing to me. So that really is the essence of how this program works. It's one person, one alcoholic talking to another, sharing with each other the designed for living that we find within the pages of this book that we're studying. And this is part of what Bill does in these first early chapters in the book to bring us to the realization of our alcoholism. I'm not sure I guess what I'm thinking right now is that the experiences that I have been through, both in my alcoholism and in my recovery, have all been orchestrated by this power greater than myself that I call God. I could not have arrived where I am today without every one of those experiences. I had to be convinced that a solution was needed. And then I had to be convinced that Alcoholics Anonymous had the appropriate solution to my problem. Neither one of those ideas came easily to me. I had to be beaten into it. But not by any person or any religion or any outside influence, but by the consequences of my own actions. And so I had to recognize that it's nobody else's fault that I'm where I am. And when I ran out of people to blame, I was able to develop that relationship with God that I desperately needed and didn't know how to come by. I'll shut up. You can close the meeting.
Thank you, Art. Always good to hear from you. Jamie, you want to close us out?
I could listen to Art for hours, but then over 33 years, I have listened to Art for hours. I thought that'd make you laugh, Art. Before I go into tonight's reading, I think this is pertinent and relative, especially since we have talked about fellowship, meetings, the solution, all in this virtual platform that we now exist in. And one of the things that Alcoholics Anonymous and GSO itself has had difficulty with is the meeting of the two worlds, bricks and mortar and the virtual world. So I'm going to throw this out there for you. At the bottom of page 164, there is an asterisk and a footnote. Alcoholics Anonymous will be glad to hear from you. Address P.O. Box 459, Grand Central Station, New York, New York, 10163. Or the website is www.aa.org. And my thoughts would be, if God puts it on your heart, maybe drop them a line and tell them your experience since COVID and how the virtual platform is working in your life in the groups that you go to. And maybe GSO will be able to find a way to help make it all come together. As I said before earlier, this particular group operates exactly the way we do in a bricks and mortar. The only difference is we don't throw chairs across the room, call each other nasty names in business meetings, and throw cups of coffee at one another when things don't go our way. But we still operate, we still spend money, we still support, we still do all of the things that not only support this group, but also that help to support Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole. And one of the wonderful things that Nicole was talking about when she shared on group autonomy tonight was exactly that. We are allowed to be able to do that, even as a virtual group, as long as it has no effect on other nearby groups or Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole. And our hope is, through this group, that we have a positive impact on other groups and Alcoholics Anonymous as a whole, because we want to stick with that singleness of purpose. So the address and the contact information's there, should God put it on your heart to do that. And now I will close with our reading. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously, you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And come on back next week, because we're just move on with the rest of the chapter. It's always great seeing everybody. And here at Primary Purpose, we have a real special way of closing. Since we're not in the same room to hold our hands around the table, we're not even in the same time zone, for goodness sake. We hold our hands up in the screen, and that's our way of connecting and holding our hands on Zoom. So if you'd like to join us in that, please do. And we'll go ahead and take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may die tonight, either because they haven't found their way to us, or because they found us, but they weren't ready to stop, or they didn't want what we had, and they went back out. So a moment of silence, followed by the Lord's Prayer. Thank you, who brings us from shame to grace if we let Him. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come.
thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom,
Kingdom, the kingdom,
and the glory,
power,
forever and ever.
forever and ever.
Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for staying up with us, folks.